you can only imagine that it's going to be severely punishing him.
Do you go for that risk? Do you go for the Sorcerer's Apprentice into the Arcane Missiles and hope that Arcane Missiles does kill that Flame Imp?
I think Reckful did some calculation on this, that it's actually more likely than just... It's like 66% likely to actually get the kill or something like that. I can't remember what the calculation was, but HelloLeeroy makes the... I guess the more sound play, that it now makes it a lot more difficult to have that Sorcerer's Apprentice and Arcane Missiles play work out for you.
I don't see how it could be more likely that you get the kill. It's exactly 50-50 per shot, and the shots don't depend on previous results.
Reckful did... I watched the stream where Reckful did some calculation on it, and it actually seemed moderately sound. But
well, I can believe that he would talk confidently enough to make it sound logical, but
he showed the maths.
That's not how probability works.
He showed the maths, and I need to go through it again, but there was definitely some maths involved.
Well, regardless,
there was some maths involved.
Flame Imp did die, and even though Raven would have been targeting that Voidwalker, just because it would have been a nice trade, the 3-2 dying is extremely important. Flame Juggler in the deck of HelloLeeroy, and it's hitting the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and HelloLeeroy gives a little raise to the eyebrows because he knows how important that is, so he can make that trade. I mean, Flame Juggler kind of dipped out of Zoo for a while, but when it does that, when it gets that 1 bit of damage to the right minion, it is incredibly important.
Certainly isn't. A trade available here as well for Raven could go with the Mana Worm as well as Ping, just to finish off that Flame Juggler. Leaves his Mana Worm alive, but only on 1 HP, so a little bit dangerous, and as we can see, there is a Knife Juggler, sorry, in the hands of HelloLeeroy.
Yeah, I mean, just because I can see what's in each other's hands, I think I prefer just playing Cult Sorcerer. But I think if I was in the situation of Raven, I'd probably just naturally take the trade. Okay,
I found out the math. It's 52% that Arcane Missiles kills a... I've just read it here. Apparently there's a calculator that does it for you. It's 52%, or rather 51.852% that Arcane Missiles will kill a 2-health minion on board.
You'll have to show me that after the stream.
I will, yeah,
because even with you having Googled it, I still don't believe that that's how maths works.
Well, I'll just go out off the top. It's
once
big
in school.
I'll just go out is really big here because now he can go for the 50-50, and if he gets that 50-50, his board is looking extremely strong, especially with Gang Boss to follow up. But actually, he's gonna go for the safer play.
That's fine. You're not punished by much here. Even if he fireballs, which is the play that he could be thinking about, there's still that 1/1 on board that can trade into the Mana Worm.
He's going to go for the Fireball. Probably will go for face with the Mana Worm as well.
I love HelloLeeroy.
I love how he's having a conversation with us and we can't hear him.
Yeah. I wonder if he's this invested into every solo queue game he plays as well.
Absolutely.
Every game on ladder, he's just like...
Have you ever been on Skype with HelloLeeroy? He is totally that invested.
I haven't actually, but I feel like I should now.
Yeah, he's totally that invested into every game.
Barnes.
That's an interesting one.
I mean, so when Barnes was announced, I was expecting it to be included in most decks, just because if you do get that 1 in 10, it is pretty crazy. But what are you looking for here?
Spell power.
Spell power.
Like, the majority of this deck, as far as we've seen, gives you spell power, and if not, reduces the cost of your spells. Flamewaker comes out. Thinking about it, Barnes is actually fantastic. Oh my goodness. Leroy less excited about that.
Less excited for sure.
What are you expecting?
Well, I think you probably tap and play Imp Gang Boss here because you can follow up the following turn with Defender of Argus and then trade your either of those going into the Flamewaker is probably okay.
Can I point out as well, Raven once again with his flashy golden cards. Golden Barnes coming out. Of course.
Goodness gracious me.
Well, that was a painful turn for Leroy. Would you consider going for the Fireball onto Gang Boss once again?
Probably not in this situation because it's not the only thing on board. There's the Ronin. This is the variant of Tempo Mage we have kind of seen emerging thus far. Definitely think Defender of Argus is pretty solid here. Maybe think about Dark Peddler first, because if you draw something like Power Overwhelming or Abusive Sergeant, both of those help you trade upwards. That's pretty good though.
Well, There's starting to be a fairly hefty board built up here for HelloLeeroy. He's really starting to snowball this zoo deck, and we're not seeing any AoE clear right now for the likes of Raven. He's not found any Flame Strikes thus far. And also, to be honest, there's not really a fantastic play available from his hand. You know, if you play the Sorcerer's Apprentice or the Cult Sorcerer, you don't really achieve anything other than just getting the body on the board.
No, you're right, and that's the thing with this Tempo Mage, is if you don't have those kind of Arcane Missiles and the Flame Waker and the means of removing this zoo deck that kind of just constantly puts threats on the board, you can just fall that little bit behind. I mean, Sorcerer's Apprentice does allow him to use that Fireball as well, but instead he's just going to take the value and get rid of this Divine Shield, which I think is relatively important, because if something like an Abusive Sergeant or Power Overwhelming come off the top, then it could get quite ugly.
Dark Shadow Councilman's pretty good.
Do you find it interesting? This is a complete tangent right now. Do you find it interesting how super serious their version of Medivh looks, and yet how quite the opposite
Medivh actually,
looks?
yeah.
Or Medivh and Karazhan.
That's an interesting point.
Considering they're both in the same game.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Medivh, I think, didn't something happen when Medivh turned into this weird time-based... you know the lore of World of Warcraft better than I do.
Lore-wise, Medivh is super serious and never fun and doesn't host parties.
So why does Karazhan exist? Is that an alternate timeline?
I think it was just for the banter.
Just for the banter.
As far as I can tell.
Do you just slam Ronin here, or do you have to Fireball?
I think you just slam Ronin. You're not actually in too much threat of lethal right now.
And also
7/7 on the board.
You're going to have Cult Sorcerer into triple Arcane Missile.
And if you top deck a Flame Waker, that is a scary thought.
I think Power Overwhelming Abusive Sergeant could be the play here, onto one of the possessed villagers, likely. And then you just have Abusive Sergeant and thing come down that gets you a very hefty looking. Gets you 7 damage on your council. He's actually going to do it to one of the imps. So he wants to maintain the death rattles, which makes a lot of sense into Arcane Missiles, for instance. He's actually just going to ignore. He doesn't want to give those. That's interesting. He doesn't want to give those Arcane Missiles away at all.
Hey-o.
Hey yo.
Hey nerfed Yogg.
Wait, did Leroy just make a play that was far superior to anything that I saw? I think he did. Because now, if Raven wants the Arcane Missiles, he has to ping his own Ronin. He has to Fireball the 6/5 if that's the case. He can't deal with all of these 1/1s. There's Power Overwhelming in hand, and Leroy has multiple outs going forward.
I think you ping your own Ronin here, and then you Cult Sorcerer into several Arcane Missiles, and you're doing, what, 12 damage? Yeah, so you've got 12 damage here.
Yeah, I would think that he'll be able to deal with a fair few of these 1/1s.
Sure.
I think it's safe to say.
He'll deal with all of it.
Should be able to. It's pending probabilities.
I mean, it's probably a 52% chance of it, but...
We've talked a lot about probabilities thus far, but he should be able to deal with all of it. I mean, now the likelihood is that maybe he might leave 1 on board.
Yeah.
No,
Well, you know.
There was that 52 went in his favour this time. That 2%. I mean, we've been talking about how the 1% matters when it's 2. Got even... It's double.
But Raven, interestingly, just still using Yogg. Because, I mean, let's be honest, if Yogg doesn't kill himself, he still does crazy Yogg
Wait
things.
a second, this is 7 damage. This is lethal.
Well, it is definitely
Yeah,
with
definitely.
Blood Mage off the top.
There we have it. So, not having to use that Yogg, and to be honest, I think Raven maybe will be happy about that anyway. You know, Yogg has always been kind of seen as that panic button card anyway. But Raven managing to take that one, and you know, Leroy, he made some pretty decent plays there. Filled the entire board, had a terrifying Councilman, but Raven reacted to it perfectly. Manages to delete the Councilman, gets rid of his own Ronin, and then just throws a million different Arcane Missiles across the map.
The only other play that Leroy could have made was to not play one of the cards to leave his Councilman at 5 instead of 6. So you leave your Councilman at 5, you don't overcommit, he can't ping off his Ronin then, and then you're still pushing a lot of damage to face. It gives you 2 turns to work with the Ronin. Could have given him enough. We saw there wasn't really much coming out of the life taps and the way his cards were tapped up that could have given him an out potentially, but that was the only other play he could have potentially made in that situation. So maybe there was something to think about.
I mean, and quite rightly, Raven has a golden Barnes because Barnes was the MVP there. The Flame Waker from the Barnes was huge.
Yeah.
The tempo swing was unreal, and that's why I said I'm not surprised that kind of Barnes has been included, because that one chance of getting that crazy.
I will say though, the actual Flame Waker didn't kill anything. It was the arcane missiles that killed the Knife Juggler on its own, and then the Flame Waker I think hit a Divine Shield in face or something. But I mean, realistically, just getting the Flame Waker anyway, the odds of it being beneficial are always going to be.
I mean, and you were right. Obviously, you're looking for spell damage, but we also saw Ronin. I mean, if you draw Ronin from Barnes, that's going to be something crazy as well. So
I'm actually going to take this deck list after and do some ladder.
I think Raven might be on
looks
something.
like not even just necessarily a strong deck, but also just a really fun deck to play.
For sure. I mean, Tempo Mage is great fun, because when it does go right, you just feel on top of the world. It feels like you can defeat anything. So we see Wild Pyromancer and Armor Smith. So this looks like a very old school warrior deck.
I think it's a Patron warrior variant.
You would think so. With Arcane Giants as well.
Giant with charge, with the new charge. They can only hit minions.
But
Tice was obsessed with charge, by the way. I don't know if you watched Tice's stream when the changes happened. He was obsessed with using charge in every warrior deck that he made that day.
Just because now it's so cheap.
It's 1 mana, charge anything.
I mean, and this was what I was thinking. I mean, why not, right? Because charge can be so huge, and for only 1 minion.
Hashtag everything Ice Howl.
There's the patron.
There's the patron.
So, earlier we went back to 2013. Now we're going back to 2015.
Sure. It's the new version of Patron Warrior that kind of revolves around spamming spells, drawing cards, Arcane Giants becoming a thing.
So wait, hold up. So now you can put charge onto a minion. You can put charge onto those patrons, right?
Yes.
And then you can just generate another
patrons.
patron.
Yeah, you can go patron while Pyromancer charge onto patron. Generate patrons.
Well, I never. Oh, Blizzard, have you made a mistake?
Ailamal. I love that. HelloLeeroy is like, what you doing with no mana, mate? Oh, he's already tilted. Bless his soul.
Get in there and fight.
Right, he's not happy about this series so far, I don't think. Going 1-0 down to the likes of Arcane Missiles, I don't think ever feels great. But he's going to commit a lot to the board right now. We know that there's a Pyromancer in hand. Are we thinking that there's... I can't remember the name of the card. Rallying Cry, is it?
Rallying Cry would likely be involved. If Pyromancer's there and Acolyte of Pain and all these spells coming through. Pretty tasty Defender of Argus right here.
I've just realised how much of a Warcraft nerd I am. The reason I could remember the name of Rallying Cry was because I thought back to my days of playing Warrior and which oh, it's Commanding Shout.
Yeah, I would literally. I was like, what's Rallying Cry, guys? Is this a new card that's been added?
And then I think back to playing Warrior and I use that as an anecdote, and it reminds me that I was actually wrong and it was in fact Commanding Shout. So I kind of proved my point by being wrong.
I think you played WoW a lot longer than I did, Munch, right? I played
WoW for like 9 years.
I played WoW from Vanilla to Burning Crusade, then I quit, and then came back in Wrath of the Lich King, and then quit in Cataclysm.
I actually don't know how many years it is. I assume it's a lot.
Too long. The addiction is too strong.
You were like an arena god, weren't you, Munchy?
Since the end of Burning Crusade, I started playing. Like the last half year of Burning Crusade.
What is this Elise Starseeker doing in the Patron deck? That's an interesting one. I guess because you generate so much cards, it gives you another win condition.
It's another draw mechanic as well, I guess. At some point, that golden monkey.
It also adds a card to your deck, I suppose.
But it adds.
That you have to spend mana to get a
the
draw
deck
with.
it adds the map, right, which can draw, and it's a spell for Pyromancer. And
yeah, no, it makes sense. It just.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm just as confused as you are, but I mean, I think there is a viable reason for why. It's just what's it replacing.
Yeah,
I guess.
No, I see that there is this reasoning here. Leroy's got a pretty interesting turn because he could just use another Defender of Argus, but then you've got to be worried potentially about Brawl. But I mean, he doesn't know what type of warrior he's playing into unless it's exactly the same warrior that he played up against in the UK Masters. And he's thinking, well, if he's got Brawl, he's got Brawl.
And the thing is, I mean, if he hadn't have played that, he could have Raven had this. He had Slam plus Blood to Wicker, which deals with anything that's got like 2 mana. But unfortunately, there are 4 mana minions on board that are going to survive.
Yeah. He deals with quite a lot here. HelloLeeroy's got 8, 12. Direwolf Alpha gives him 6. He gives him 4. He's 1 off lethal. He could go for the 50-50.
Yeah, goes for the 50-50, playing Juggler first.
With a shot.
Juggler hits face. This is game. Game set and
It's
match.
game set match.
Leeroy knows it. Gets his Maracas out. He is loving it.
Oh, he's my favourite player.
Well, there we have it. That is going to be this one going the way of Leeroy. And that's going to be 1-1 in the series. What a way to win it.
HelloLeeroy has a great
I love
Maracas.
how he actually has props nearby so that he can actually win games in style. Like last season, we saw him whip out the Ray-Bans after a victory.
Wait, I've got my own maracas. There you go. I covered the label just for the benefit of production.
That was terrifying.
I think it's fine, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, that game ended. It's now 1-1 in the series. HelloLeeroy's back in it.
I mean, it's a tough game for that patron deck. I mean, there wasn't enough removal for Raven. The board got overwhelming in the end.
Yeah.
And then it finished with the power overwhelming, quite fittingly.
And unfortunately for Raven, he didn't get that commanding shout until he was at a point where he didn't have the mana to play it and his Pyromancer already died.
Didn't get Rallying Cry either.
No,
He
that
didn't
Rallying Cry
get a
never
single
came through.
Rallying Cry.
Blood Warriors!
Yeah, no, this is the Blood Warrior variant where you just spam 0 mana Arcane Giants and you use a Whirlwind and you use Blood Warriors. And then you get more 0 mana Arcane Giants.
No, I've seen
What
everything.
is Rallying Cry?
Have you never seen that?
I actually haven't, no.
Munch is now really interested as to what Rallying Cry is.
So, HelloLeeroy, not having his Shaman banned.
I think it's the HP buff.
Wait, what? I'm confused. HelloLeeroy, I didn't think had Shaman.
I also did not think. Yeah, Shaman.
Yeah, he's wrong.
So we are getting
Well, we're
confirmation
just
of
gonna
whether...
double check all
Yeah.
of that one.
I would assume HelloLeeroy will
Sure.
know what's banned and what he has, so it may just be just a mistake from admin or something like that.
Yeah, just while we get that resolved as well, I can confirm for you guys, Rallying Cry, I was right, it's the cooldown, the 3-minute cooldown that increases your HP by 15%.
Thanks,
So,
Munch.
You're welcome.
Now I'm informed.
It's an important cooldown to know. Very important in Arena, actually.
Oh, graphics were wrong.
Graphics
Okay.
It's all fine.
It's all
okay.
fine, boys.
So Leroy does have a Shaman, and that is
wasn't
instead of
banned.
the Hunter.
Yeah.
So his Warrior was banned by Raven instead of Shaman. Interesting. Especially with how strong Shaman is. And this is an overwhelmingly good turn for Raven now. Able to deal with a lot of the threat that is on the board.
Well,
Oh,
truly.
Spirit Claws off the top. Only having 1 mana because of those wolves. And the perfect card come off the top.
Yeah. Acolyte is a nice play here, though. There's nothing that can kill him outright, aside from obviously the Lightning Bolt in hand, but he doesn't know that's there. And obviously trades very well into that Spirit Wolf. But I suppose he's probably not expecting it to survive this turn and be able to draw him multiple cards.
So I'm trying to think what I prefer here. Manatide Totem plus Lightning Bolt or Tunnel Trog Hero Power Lightning Bolt. I think I get rid of the Acolyte, knowing that this is probably some sort of deck that you need card draw, because why else would you be playing Acolyte? But at the same time, Leroy's thinking, do I need to push this damage to face? Am I scared about 1 extra card draw?
So many questions ready to be asked. And Leroy, I think the issue he's got is he's not actually seen very much of this deck from Raven. He's still fairly unaware as to what he's up against and has to play very carefully because of that. He's going to drop his Mana Tide and basically trade card draw for card draw here. But we can see there's not actually an immediate answer for this Mana Tide Totem.
There isn't. If Ravaging Ghoul had come off the top, that would have been huge, but...
For sure. I guess you can slam and
slam
hope for
and hope.
Ravaging Ghoul.
Yeah, you can hope for the best.
Solid chances.
Doesn't get it this time, but we'll drop another Acolyte, and that means that, again, finds that situation where he can trade very well with the Acolyte.
Hey.
I say that, maybe he can't. That's going to be...
That even brought out a smirk from Raven.
Yeah, Wrath of Air Totem, the bane of anyone that's not playing Shaman's existence. There's going to be no Spirit Claws. Can finish off the Acolyte and just draw a singular card.
So, the worry for Raven is with this deck is, at the moment he hasn't been able to draw real removal. I mean, he's already used a Pyromancer and a Whirlwind to get rid of the early threat of HelloLeeroy's board, but HelloLeeroy has already built up an even more threatening board. And considering this is the more mid-range variant, I say that there's another Whirlwind there, so Slam plus Whirlwind does deal with the majority of this board, so Raven has done well there to get that card.
This is his second Whirlwind, though. In a Grim Patron deck, that's actually a serious issue for him moving forwards. And he has these two Shield Slams, but he's not had opportunity to actually build up any armor.
And there is Ragnaros here for HelloLeeroy. Following turn, he can also just slam a Fire Elemental to face. You know, probably he hasn't got any of the better plays. He's actually just going to Shield Slam this. Wow, he is really afraid of that, providing that 3 damage for HelloLeeroy.
Leroy just going to drop his Fire Elemental. Such a good card.
Absolutely. None of this is good for Raven. He probably just has to Battle Rage to draw a card.
What, Battle Rage into Arcane Giant?
Yeah. Good commanding shout as well into it, and that works too. Maybe he wants more value out of Battle Rage here. Shield block's pretty good. You can get a Shield Slam.
So Leroy's not happy about that one. Actually mouthing 2 top decks, but it was only 1 top deck. He already had the Shield Slam. But
Azure Drake will provide that extra damage, but HelloLeeroy not choosing to waste a charge of his Spirit Claws, and Raven continues to search. There is La Grim Patron.
needs an activator as well. This is the issue that he's got. We'll drop an Arcane Giant finally, and has Emperor in hand as well. So if he can find, you know, another Grim Patron or some of his activators, if he can find things that really gain value from dropping the mana cost, he could still come back into this game. Leroy, though, with a significant lead at this stage.
Absolutely. There was the opportunity to take a 50-50 with Ragnaros.
Yeah.
And would have deleted all of the armor from Raven, but then you've also got to look at the fact that there's probably a lot of damage coming from the Lightning Bolt, and he can just use his face to trade in here with the 1-1.
Will decide to go for that line of play. Leaves his Azure Drake on the table as well, which is important, considering he's got a Spirit Claws equipped and also has one in his hand. Needs to keep that spell power alive if he can.
Another Arcane Giant, but still no activator, A, for the Grim Patron, or B, for the Blood Warrior. Like, I mean, if you say that the aim is to play that Arcane Giant into maybe Whirlwind, into maybe Blood Warrior, but he's got no Whirlwinds. He's already used a Pyromancer as well, so that means he's only really got, what, a Ravaging Ghoul and maybe another Wild Pyromancer as activators?
So what you can do here for HelloLeeroy is you spin for the chance of getting a spell power. You can just Lightning Storm, Maelstrom Portal, probably clean up everything with the remaining 3 damage weapon that you've got here. Pending a 4 damage, it's clean, pending a 4 damage on the Arcane Giant.
Do you just drop Rag, jam everything into face,
And what, and search for lethal?
and take the 1 in 3?
Yeah?
Otherwise, it hits Emperor. Okay, you've got rid of Emperor. It hits the 8-8. Okay, you've got rid of the 8-8. You still have a very threatening board.
Yeah, I mean, that seems perfectly viable to me. Is there any situations where you wouldn't want to hit one of those? Like, if you didn't hit For instance, Emperor, what are you worried about the 3 cards that he's got in hand? But then he's only got 3 cards in hand, so... I like that, actually, Dan. Just jam everything into face. Just go for the 1 in 3. The other 2 outcomes aren't the worst in the world anyway.
His other options are just to play Flame Tongue, possibly, but no, it does look like he's going to play Ragnaros. I don't know whether he's going to trade or just go face here.
No, he's doing your play, Dan.
Go face. I feel like if you play Ragnaros here, you might as well just go face and hope for lethal.
Oh, no.
Oh, he did trade.
He did trade into the Emperor, specifically. You take the 50-50, not the 50-50.
That feel when you should have gone face. But then again, there would have been 3 minions, so maybe it wouldn't have gone that way.
This is really awkward, because he can't actually execute anything, because he can't actually deal enough damage to not deal...
So do you Pyromancer and then you run your Arcane Giant into maybe the 4/4, then use Blood Warriors?
You just Blood Warriors and execute
Okay.
Ragnaros.
You're not worried about... How does this work? No, okay, so you don't get it. Round of applause from HelloLeeroy.
But with Lightning Storm and Maelstrom Portal...
Grim Patron decks are never out of the running completely.
But he's got lethal here anyway with the Flame Tongue Totem.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter actually, because I was talking rubbish, he had lethal anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was unlikely he was going to come back at that stage with 4 HP, and, you know, finally did manage to get some patrons going for himself, but it was too little too late, and that means Leeroy once again takes the lead in this series 2-1 now, and on the cusp of keeping up this flawless streak.
He doesn't, I
I
think.
just realised we didn't do predictions.
Did we not? I don't know. I think HelloLeeroy's
That's
going
a
to
good point.
So he's...
I didn't even
HelloLeeroy
notice.
has Druid left, and we've got clarification there that the Shaman was there, so it was instead of Hunter.
We got baited and outsmarted by production.
We did.
We did.
Or perhaps we can blame admins.
It does mean that Druid is now the last deck
Druid is the
remaining
last deck.
for HelloLeeroy. Raven still with a Hunter and Warlock. I wouldn't be surprised to see Raven just go on the Hunter, just as it's like his comfort class, right? That's
Yeah.
what everyone knows him for.
And so last week, HelloLeeroy brought just Token Druid. It wasn't even Malygos Druid.
No.
If he is going to play that just token variant, I mean, perhaps this Grim Patron deck might do particularly well against it. It's got a lot of
Sure.
removal. It can get rid of those 1/1s if Violet Teacher does produce those tokens, but
Sure.
I'm a bit worried about that Patron deck. It doesn't look solid to me. I mean, I've not seen it in its kind of glory. It's been
It's
two
not-
dire
it's
situations.
not a top-tier
to be
warrior
honest.
deck. I don't think anyone would probably go out saying this is a top-tier warrior deck. When it originally came out, and when Arcane Giants originally came out, this did form. It was one of the original warrior decks that tried to utilize Blood Warriors, Arcane Giants, a little bit like you would with the old Giant decks, where you would just be, Mage Giant deck, where
The
you'd use
Echo
Echo of
Mage,
Medivh and Echo Mage. Well, it's basically Echo Warrior, but it requires a little bit more setup to make happen. Not quite as effective as Echo.
And I imagine it was stronger when Charge wasn't nerfed, right? So when you could use those Arcane Giants to go face as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Charge had a massive impact. In fact, sometimes it turned into this one-turn kill Charge Warrior with Arcane Giants. It was pretty nasty, really, because you had this 8 mana for 0 that you could charge. It's one of the main reasons I think why that Charge got nerfed. It wasn't even the Worgen Warrior that was nerfed because of Charge. I think it was mainly this 0 mana 8/8 Arcane Giant Warrior.
Well, here we go. It is going to be a Druid coming out from HelloLeeroy. And it is going to be that Token Druid once again. Raven going to be sticking to what he knows best, playing on that Hunter.
And we did see Ragnaros as well, which we said earlier. A few people have been replacing Yogg with Ragnaros. I mean, which is a perfectly viable thing. Ragnaros is an incredibly powerful card. And judging by the fact that Ancient of War is in the deck, I would think this is just strictly token rather than Malygos. But you do see Ancient of War run with Malygos sometimes.
Greetings, traveler.
I love how Ragnaros, no matter the meta, is
He
always
said
a
cat
good
trick.
card.
He said it's cat trick because he thinks that there's no way that he would just randomly play and emote. And obviously Wild Growth turn 2 Druid deck, and you see HelloLeeroy's face.
Seems good.
Seems good, man.
Yeah, kind of gets away with that one. And actually, Argent Horse Rider coming out here. It never feels great to play an Argent Horse Rider just onto board, just to hit face for 2. You usually like to use that for a trade or to like actually push serious damage.
Unless it's face Hunter, and then It's 2 damage. But
Is this Face Hunter with? I mean, is it beyond the realms of possibility that this is Face Hunter?
I mean, I always expect the unexpected with Raven. There was once upon a time he brought Mech Hunter, and now I dream about it every night. It was a fantastic thing. I mean, tracking typically, would you have it in Face Hunter? Probably not. I mean, searching for that.
They
I mean,
used to.
You used to, I suppose, yeah, searching for that extra damage at the end.
He's not gonna. See, I think Leroy was wondering about what would happen if he used hero power, and he needs to be playing around certain secrets.
Fiery Bat into Kill Command would have been a perfectly viable play here.
Yeah.
I mean, the Fire Bat off the top gives obviously that Kill Command its 5 damage.
It does give away that this is definitely not Freezing Trap, if that's the case, though. I mean, I suppose also you have to be worried about the token generation, but
I would not really be that fussed about whether or not it's Freezing Trap. Seriously difficult decision right now, though. If he's going to leave this on board, which I would think he is, considering he hasn't gone for the Kill Command, do you keep Unleash the Hounds?
He's also got
Huntress as well.
He's got Quick Shot, and this is the other play I was thinking of. He has got Quick Shot and just charged the 2-1 in.
He's going to go for the Cloaked Huntress, which, you know, in future turns could become very, very valuable.
I think I preferred the Kill Command. Now he's kind of weak to swipe.
This is the point, but does Leroy know this is Snake Trap? No one actually runs Snake Trap right now.
So is Raven purposely trying to bait out a swipe in fear of a swipe being deadly later when that Snake Trap comes out?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, if you want to bait out a swipe, kind of Grandmother certainly going to be a way forward. Would you consider going for the Kill Command again here? You've got a good opportunity onto the Azure Drake, or do we need to start looking at saving that to take out the bigger threats?
I don't like Kill Command as much onto the Drake. I kind of feel like maybe if you want to get rid of it, you maybe just trade in both 2-1s. Kindly Grandmother, Cloaked Huntress. It also might suggest that it's a Freezing Trap. I think trading both of these in is fine, as HelloLeeroy creates a virtual disco.
Yeah.
He is such a character.
Do you know what? Leroy gets cockier and cockier every week.
I mean, you're 3-0 up in the league, why not?
So, do you coin, slam, Ancient of War?
Yes, is the answer.
Well, he's not going to be able to slam since he's not a warrior.
Heyo. Yeah, this is Face Hunter, basically.
It's definitely a variant towards Face Hunter.
At least you have chicken. Well, it's all gone
Bet
now.
this goes Face. Oh.
Now he tests for Explosive Trap for easy. You know, he has no idea for whether it was Explosive Trap or not either, so he can test for that. And then he'll probably be rewarded with the fact that it is now Snake Trap and he's got double swipe in hand.
Indeed, because he knows it's not Cat Trick. He'll know it's not Freezing Trap. He will know it's not Explosive Trap.
So first things first for me, I would just go in, and now you figure out that it's Snake Trap. And you can see his face. Mind blown that it is Snake Trap.
What a guy. Thank you, Leroy, for this entertainment. It's fantastic.
Leroy is loving it. He is absolutely loving it right now.
So, with the Leroy, you know this is probably Face Hunter. Do you just go, well, I'll just start spamming tokens that are pretty powerful? And you've got Feral Rage in hand to just generate 8 armor as well.
And Raven threw away and unleashed the Hounds earlier.
Yep.
And that is one way of dealing with some form of board. But it wouldn't deal with these 2/2/2s.
It gets the Cloaked Huntresses as well, but no actual traps to use them with.
Oh, this is such an easy trade for HelloLeeroy, knowing that it's Snake Trap now. A 2/2 into the 1/1 Kindly Grandmother.
He just said to camera, I know his secret. Yes, you do. And it's going to be pretty painful for Raven. And possibly maybe somewhat of, especially with both swipes in hand, Feral Rage as well. It's looking better and better for Leroy, getting closer to that 4-0 in the league and almost cementing himself at finals.
Absolutely, and you don't even have to lose a singular minion here either for Leeroy. Just trade the 2-2 into the 1-1, and then you go for your hero power as well as the swipe onto the 3-4. You clear everything. You're laughing. He's actually gonna use hero power onto kind of grandmother first.
Makes the most sense. You can swipe the quick huntress and then just trade one of your 2-1s in.
Yeah, the other way around though, you take slightly more damage, but you also keep a minion on board. I think he's slightly...
I mean, it is face hunter, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess he reduced damage taken by 1. It's certainly something to be said, but I think Munchables does have...
I'd rather have the minions on board, I think, personally. But Explosive Trap is going to ruin that anyway, so... Oh, actually, no, it's not, because they can just kill themselves on the 3-4. And the Secret Keeper, approximately 8 turns too late for Raven.
So here, do you think about proccing the trap so you just know it's off the board, swiping Feral Raging to get some armor, but then you don't really want to leave Raven with the, I guess, the momentum in terms of what he can play on board next?
I mean, I like getting an Arcane Giant on board, getting a threat on board. You know it's not Freezing Trap now. You are going to be concerned about Call of the Wild happening on turn 9, and you don't have that much health, so okay, Feral Rage comes out, and because of that, he can put an Arcane Giant as well, and I think that's important. He's got to put threats on the board, just in case of those Call of the Wilds.
Oh, proccing the Explosive Trap now might have been an idea with that 2-2 on board because the Eagle Horn bow has come down.
And actually, we've been talking like HelloLeeroy has this one in the bag. It's certainly still very much in his favour. But we know for a fact Hunter can bring out some serious bursts. We've not seen a single Call of the Wild just yet.
I don't even know if this will be running Call of the Wild, you know. He's got double swipe in hand. He could Raven Idol look for something like a healing touch or even just some more damage, just slam his other Arcane Giant.
I'm wondering whether or not this deck will be running any deadly shots. Even just one as like a backup plan.
Do you take another Raven Idol? Yeah, you take another Raven Idol. He really wants either some big direct damage or Moonglade Portal.
Yep, that works. Just heal yourself up. Now, I mean, you're not even really that worried at 17 health, but there's no point taking risks.
Like one of the best 6-drops you could potentially get in terms of stats as well.
The maracas have already begun, as HelloLeeroy is well on his way. There we go. He's 3-1 in the series, and he will now be 4-0 in the league. And I mean, I'm happy for the guy. You think about last season when he managed to get to finals, and then he finished 4th, and he was quite down and out, but he's back with a bang this season.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be looking to try and outdo himself from last season. I think Leeroy is looking towards the trophy if he can. I think that's his goal for... I mean, realistically, whose goal isn't the trophy? But it definitely seems like he's putting the work in this time around, and he's going to take the series 3-1 against Raven. So
with Mysterious having lost this week, this puts Ball Control and Leeroy in almost 100% comfortable, not 100%, but almost 100% comfortable position.
About 52%.
About 52%, guys. that we see them at the finals. Pending that they don't lose